Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Matt. So, strap in because this is going to be a long one. Today, I wanted to record a video ranking all of the Malazan books from best to least best, because honestly, they're all fantastic. So, to see which one I think is the number one book, you are going to have to wait until the end. So, this book is for Malazan fans. There aren't going to be like overt spoilers, but I am going to mention character names and if they're around in later books, so you'll know who lives and dies, I guess. But if you don't really care and want to watch this video anyway, or if you don't know about the Malazan series is a 10-book epic fantasy series written by Canadian author Stephen Erickson, and it is the most epic in scope fantasy series I have ever read and probably ever will. So Stephen Erickson was an archaeologist and anthropologist earlier in life, and while he was in grad school, he and a bunch of his friends created their own tabletop RPG campaign using the GURPS system. And so he and his friends just played their RPG for a whole bunch of years, and it was about the Malazan Empire. And so Erickson and later his friend Ian Cameron Esselmont decided to write books kind of recounting their insane campaigns. And something I really like about this series is that since role playing relies on a dice, everything is up to chance whether or not something fails, so things don't necessarily always happen just for the plot. And that is why chance, Opon, is literally a god in this world. So in 10th place, the worst slash least best Malazan book is definitely Gardens of the Moon, Book 1. Gardens of the Moon is a great book. I loved it the first time I read it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic and unlike anything I'd ever read before. But upon rereads, I definitely see the errors and flaws. We get some inconsistencies. Gardens of the Moon was actually written 10 years before he got around to writing book 2 because it was originally supposed to be a script for a TV or movie. And so he turned that script into a long ass book, sat on it for 10 years since people didn't really want it. And then when he moved to England, people got interested in the series, and that's when he wrote book 2 10 years later. And in those 10 years, his writing improved by miles. So the Malazan series just isn't going to be for everyone because of how epic it is and how you're just kind of dropped into the world with very little explanation or exposition. Everything is done very organically, so characters aren't going to tell you things that they already know. So you just kind of have to play catch up in book 1, and that turns a lot of people off from the series, but the people who stick with it tend to end up absolutely loving the series. Because of the confusion, because of his poor writing, and because it's just kind of it's a lot and it's a little bit all over the place, that is why it is in 10th place as the worst book. So this is the definitive list of which Malazan books are the best. Fight me. I'll fight all of you. Now, in 9th place, some of y'all are going to be really mad, but in 9th place is Toll the Hounds, book 8. I love the Malazan series. I love all the books, but Toll the Hounds is the only one that I also hate. So, in the kind of later chunk of the Malazan series, we have strayed away from the continents of Seven Cities and Genevacus, and we are on Lether doing other things. And book 8 brings us back to Genevacus, to Darujhistan, and it felt like an interruption to me. I was like, wait, I don't necessarily want to know about this. I just kind of want to get back to the story on Lether that I'm super invested in and excited about. Along with that, we have the character Clip from book 7. He is a Tistandi, and he is a fucking dick. I hate him so much. He's traveling with a bunch of other Tistandi, and they are all incredibly dour and depressed. And that was just tiring. Clip was being a dick to all of them. There's this storyline about a new god who's causing a lot of suffering with the Simon Kalik. It just really wasn't for me. What I did like was seeing Black Coral be city shrouded in Karul Galain, and I liked seeing how that was run and seeing kind of the Tistandi have their own home, which was kind of cool. Along with that, I was interested in the Redeemer. That was kind of interesting. But I didn't really care about the stuff in Darujhistan. The whole thing with Harlow was heartbreaking, but also not really relevant. I don't know, it was just not the best. I did like Karsa and Summer Dev, that was really cool. What's really unfortunate about Toll the Hounds being in 9th place is that I honestly think that Toll the Hounds has probably the single best climax in the entire series. The shit that goes down at the end of Toll the Hounds blew my mind. Like, oh my god, it was so good. I was so excited. But the earlier part of the book, that was just a really big slog for me. So for that reason, it is in ninth place. In eighth place, we have Dust of Dreams. Dust of Dreams, a great book, as they all are. It also has a joke that just sent me into hysterics. I'm not really going to explain it, but if you know Crump Goes the Knee, Limp Goes the Sapper, that killed me the first time I read it. All of the books are good, like I said, but it's definitely in the lower half. There's not much particularly wrong with the book, but it is a little bit of a slog seeing the snake. There are all these children running from Calance, and they are traveling across the desert, getting attacked by swarms of locusts and beetles and stuff, and having to resort to eating each other, and it's just really, really awful. Along with that, we have the Malazan army marching towards Calance, and that was a bit of a slog since not a lot was happening until a lot was happening, and then that was insane. But two words, the hobbling. The hobbling was just a really, really hard scene to read. It hurts my soul so much, but Caitlin from Kitty G read the entire Malazan series up until the hobbling and quit right there with only a book and a half left, which hurts me, but I understand. I do agree with Erickson's explanation about what his wife said, that as hard as it is to read that scene, this is still something that happens today, and you should be aware of that, and you should know that however hard it is for you to read it, it is so much harder for the people actually experiencing these things to live through that. But yes, my least favorite part is definitely the group of travelers traveling to Kals Rooted. We have Breath, Taxilian, Rautos, Sonnet, all the other ones, and their bickering was just really annoying. It also just kind of wasn't clear what was going on, and even later on when we learn what's actually happening, it's not great. The action in the book is fantastic, though. So we have everything with the Draconis, and that was insane, and that explains why Book 8 was necessary to set things up for the end game. But yeah, the action scenes are really fantastic. The whole Barghast fighting before Draconis was really, really great. I love how Erickson writes death scenes from the perspective of the dying, as we kind of see their last thoughts as things fade to black. But yeah, that's what we got. In seventh place, we have House of Chains. Something I really liked about House of Chains was the beginning chunk. I'm curious how much it is. A critic of Erickson said that he could not write a single POV story to save his life. He just couldn't do one perspective. And so Erickson clapped back with book 4, which literally features the entire first part being about one character. Yeah, literally the first 250 pages of this book are about one character. And I like that. I thought that was really cool. But the infighting in Shaik's camp wasn't necessarily the best. Also, there's a scene at the end where, if you don't know, Stephen Erickson says that the biggest theme in the Malazan books are compassion. He basically calls the series a 3.5 million word plea for compassion. And so there is the chance for an incredibly epic scene at the end of book 4, but certain characters decide to be compassionate and not reveal certain information. And so we don't get that scene. I both appreciate that, but I also wish that we had seen it at the same time. I don't know. But yeah, Shaik and Tavaray, if you know, you know. So in sixth place, we have Midnight Tides. In book 5, Midnight Tides, we jump into an entirely new continent with no characters that we know. Well, one character that we know. And it's just this entirely new storyline. It feels like book 2 all over again, where you don't know where you are, you don't know what's going on, you just kind of have to learn. But I thought it was really, really cool, a super bold choice, and very refreshing at the same time. It also didn't really feel like an interruption to me the way that book 8 did. I thought it was really cool seeing this whole new continent, Lether, and the civilizations there, and how its magic was kind of locked in time because of Gothos' Omtospelak ritual. It was just very, very cool. I loved the book. However, there are better books, and that is why it is in 6th place. Sorry about the intense lighting. I just shut the blinds a little, and I'll see if I can fix that while I'm editing. Anyway, in 5th place, we have The Crippled God, the final book in the Malazan series. The The Crippled God just brought everything together finally. It was such an epic conclusion. I feel like it was done masterfully. I love pretty much everything about the book. My only real complaint is the kind of Karsa stuff. It I don't know how else he would have done it, but it just felt a little weird kind of jumping back to Darujistan for like a little bit just to kind of see how his actions there affect everything on Lether. Along with that, I don't know how I feel about the shoehorned in Crocus and Apslar thing. The shoehornedness of it kind of bothers me, but I am glad that we get a resolution to that. But yes, this book blew my mind, and it was so cathartic finishing the series, a series that quite literally saved my life. I love how everything came full circle with the little final couple pages of the epilogue matching the first pages of Gardens of the Moon. How the end mirrored the beginning of Gardens of the Moon with a little boy wanting to be a soldier. I thought that was really, really cool, and I just loved it. In fourth place, we have the Bone Hunters. One word for the Bone Hunters: Egotten. If you know, you know. That was absolutely insane. It was just bonkers. We have the entire flight of Leoman and co. just fleeing across the desert. We have Tavare and her bone hunters pursuing them. And there's this massive assault on Egotten, a city that proved the downfall of Dasim Ultor back in the day and is kind of a curse in the Malazan Empire. And yet again, we have this insane battle and destruction. There's an inferno. We have everybody fleeing for their lives. We have to crawl through the Undercity. That was just so intensely emotional seeing all of that. Egotten, it was just brutal. And then we get to Mala City later on, and we see Apslar and Callum doing their thing, ripping through the claw. And it was just, it was brilliant. It was just so, so good. So that is why it is in fourth place. In third place, we have Memories of Ice. Memories of Ice is where we get the introduction of the Crippled God, and we kind of get the foreshadowing of how he is basically endgame in the story. The Crippled God is basically chaos incarnate in a sense. He's a god from another realm, brought down by people trying to kill Kalor back in the day because he was such a dick. And now he's been chained to the Malazan world, slowly poisoning Burn. But the kind of crowning achievement of Memories of Ice is the siege at Kapustan and later at Coral. That was honestly masterful. We got the Malazan army teaming up with Animander Rake and Kaladin Brood and co. to face a new threat, the Panion Seer. And the Panion Seer has just created this insane society. We have the Tenaskauri. They are these starving hordes following behind the army. And they're just this horde that overruns everything. They go into the battlefield and feast on the dead since they have nothing else to eat. We have the Children of the Dead Seed, which is one of the most fucked up things I've ever heard of. There's this group of women, and they're all kind of insane, and they go down onto the battlefield and ride dying men or dead men, because if you don't know this, a lot of men come when they die. Fun fact. And so they're just on the battlefield trying to get pregnant from these dead men. And the children they've birthed are known as the Children of the Dead Seed, and they're kind of revered in this crazy fanatical cult thing. It was just, it's unlike anything I've ever read. It was just a lot. And by that I mean it's fucked up. Why Steven Erikson? Why? How'd you think of that? We also have the whole Ikovian storyline. We also have the transformation of Tattersail into Silver Fox, this child feasting on her mother, essentially, as she grows very quick. And she's kind of become the destriant of the Tlanimas. And she is now their leader. It's such a good time, but it is dark. It is a bleak story. But a lot of people like this book the best, and that is why it is in third place. So, what do you think is going to be in first place now? There are only two left, Deadhouse Gates and Reaper's Gale. What do you think it's going to be? Then, second place, Deadhouse Gates. I've read the series 9 times now. It's going to be 10 soon while I reread the series to create my Malazan summary videos. but as of now, it's 9. And every time I read Deadhouse Gates, it really impresses me. The prologue is fantastic with Hood. But yes, as much as I loved book 1, Deadhouse Gates is when I really realized that I was reading something special. We're thrown into this whole new environment where there are all new characters for our 4, Crocus, Absolar, Callum, and Fiddler. It just really, really impressed me. We have the Chain of Dogs. I want to get a tattoo of the Chain of Dogs, but I don't quite know how I want to draw it. I've been struggling with this for years, honestly, but I haven't found a design of the Chain of Dogs that I like. Deadhouse Gates is just so impressive because of the Chain of Dogs. Basically, in book 2, the entire continent of 7 cities, the native people there have risen up against the Malazan Empire in a rebellion known as the Whirlwind, kind of led by Shaik, and the Malazans are on the run. And so this brilliant general named Coltane of the Wiccan Crow clan, he leads a entire train of refugees. I think in total there were 60,000 refugees. He leads them basically from the distance of my home in Ottawa all the way down to Miami, Florida. That is an insane distance to cover with 60,000 refugees and an entire bunch of soldiers protecting them. But it is the end of Deadhouse Gates that rocked me. That is when I realized what a special series I was reading, and it just made me so excited for what was to come on my first reread. Deadhouse Gates is the book that makes me wish that I could erase my Malazan memories and read the series for the first time all over again. Like I said, chance is a god in this world, and so actually, I don't want to spoil anything, but oh my god, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, I cannot wait until you get to that part. And in number 1, the number 1 best Malazan book, I will fight all of you for this. Reaper's Gale, my favorite book. What I love so much about Reaper's Gale is we see kind of all 3 story arcs converge into one massive arc that leads us into the end game of the series. Reaper's Gale is just so impressive because we get the kind of Jenna Bacca storyline mixed with the 7 Cities storyline, and they are coming to Lether, the 3rd storyline, and everything just kind of culminates. What I really love so much about the series is the guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla tactics just really, really get me for some reason, and the kind of slow, desperate fight of the Marines pushing inland towards the capital was just fantastic. I loved Roulette's descent into madness. I love nothing more than reading about someone going crazy. Tehel and Bug's plan was just super, super impressive. We also have the kind of palace storyline, and we have the Errant being the dick that he is, but he's such a good character and villain. We have the Crippled God's influence on everything, the Emperor of 1,000 Deaths, and all of his challengers. We have so many moments of catharsis in this book. We have everything with Truel Sengar. We have tragedy all around. And what gets me so much in the series is the characterization is fantastic. Beak is kind of my favorite Malazan character because this is really embarrassing to say, but the first time I read this book, I was depressed, but I loved this series so much. And the story of Beak's brother's suicide broke me. It is 3 pages long, and I was sobbing like a madman, and I just wasn't okay for like a couple of weeks because of how tragic that was. The story of what happened to his brother. And that's what all of these tabs in this book are. I went through this book looking for Beak, and Beak is a character that is introduced in this book. And do you know how much he's featured in this book? He literally only gets 23 pages of screen time, page time, and his story over those 23 pages, it just really, really got to me. And the end of it, oh my god, it's just so good and satisfying. And that is why this book is number 1. I really, really hate the cover though. There is a Spanish cover that I'm going to flash on the screen here. I absolutely love it. I'm going to order it as soon as it comes out in February. And yes, that is my definitive list of the best to worst Malazan books. And if any of you disagree with me, fight me down below in the comments. I'd like to hear all of your rankings of best to worst. And be sure to share this video on the Malazan Reddit. That would really, really help me out. But yeah, I love this series more than almost anything in the world. I will die defending it. And if any of you haven't read it, it is a series that you need to start. Um, just get through the confusion of kind of the first part of book one, and you'll be golden. Anyway, that's my list. I hope you like it, and have a good one, guys. Later.